All right, welcome everybody to Council for the 24th of April 2024. We start this today with two people who wish to speak to public forum, and we'll hear those and then we will open the meeting formally after that. So Mr. Smith is the first public forum speaker. There's plenty of room at the table today. We've got a couple of councillors away, so you can
Thanks, Jamie.
see.
Afternoon, everyone. Me, Jamie, councillors, others in the room. I spoke here the other day and I went home and tried watching it on a YouTube clip. And I must admit I had some trouble listening to what was going on, understanding what was going on. I spoke for 6 minutes. I owe you a couple of minutes, so I'll be very brief today. 2 or 3 minutes will do me. Basically, I'm just asking a question about the suitability of this room for audio-visual conferences. I can't have been alone. There'll be other people listening, trying to follow what's going on, and it is difficult. So I think besides the acoustics, the microphones or whatever, I'm not here to tell you the problem, but as far as solutions go, I think the community will be happy with minimal expenditure as opposed to grandiose. Yeah, either acoustic panels, change room, I don't know, but it is very difficult for people to follow what's going on. The meeting the other day was for 2.5 hours, and it was difficult to trace back, or track back, I should say, to where you'd left off. If you were looking for something, perhaps a digital clock or some sort of method of going back. It's not so bad once the meeting's finished, because you've got the timeline on the YouTube clip. But while the meeting's in progress, there's no real time basis. So just my suggestions, basically. I think others have complained. Well, I can't be the first. But I really would like to see something done. You know, I spoke about the camera was out of talk the other day as well. Yeah, that's improved now. It's much better. It's just the sound quality is very difficult to follow. When I asked my questions the other day, the answers came from the side of the room here, which probably made it worse. So I'm still struggling to work out what was said, to tell you the truth.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Any questions? Councillor Howard?
I think to acknowledge your comments, just a bit of relativity, how much money would you be prepared to have a better sound system? Because, you know, we're trying to reset up and reposition the microphones, but on my understanding, it's quite a substantial amount of money to really get the acoustics that we require. So how much would you say spend as a ratepayer?
If it was my money, $80. If it's the council's money, ratepayers' money, maybe $800. I don't know. I noticed the Gore meetings were very good. They had a microphone between two, and they could just pass it. One person speaking at a time. That seemed to work very well. So perhaps the price of 6 microphones, if you're lucky. I don't know. It's not my field. But I do know Gore was a world apart from this room completely. As far as the cost goes, you ask other people in the room. Sorry.
Thanks. So there's certainly plenty of councils have better IT setups, but it comes at quite a hefty price tag. So along the lines of the one you describe, I understand it's probably in that sort of 20 to 30 grand mark, which is quite significant because it's more complex than just a couple of mics. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Or partition this room off and use it for some other purpose and take your meeting somewhere else.
Okay.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
So the next speaker is Rachel Fifield. Welcome.
Kia ora. Me, Jamie, councillors and everyone in attendance. I'm Rachel Fifield and I'm the Socio-Economic Development Officer for Reefton. I sent you all a copy of the concept overview, and since that has been sent to councillors, there has been an additional letter of support, which I've printed 10 copies, so if I can hand that round. We've got Trish Kerouia, who is part of our steering group, and if I think it's pretty self-explanatory what has been in here. So if there are any questions from council that you'd like clarification on, I'm very happy to answer anything today. We have had another 13 people since I sent this through, so we now have 246 people from Ngakawau who have said they would like to see this concept moved forward to a feasibility.
Any questions, councillors? So I understand originally this was going to be on today's agenda at this meeting, but it's not. So I think it'll be coming to next month's meeting to council. So
it's not on the agenda for today.
It's not on the agenda for today. Yeah, Chrissy, if you want to give a quick update, because I think that was.
This is on the agenda because the proposal came through last week, so to give ICB a chance to be able to review the proposal and provide their feedback, they wanted to review that at their next ICB meeting. So the paper will be going through to May's council with the recommendations and to either do something with the centre or to look at the other options on the table. So to incorporate Ngakawau's board, we just wanted to make sure that they have time to review the proposal so they can put in their recommendation.
Right, all right, well, so then if we've got 4 more minutes, then possibly I think we should probably give you some extra information, if that might be applicable. So Trish and I have been looking at is there other options on the table from council for this building? Is that something that's on the table for council at the moment? Another use for this building?
Yeah, so that's the subject of the report. So yeah, so obviously there's options around selling it or some other use. Yep.
Right, okay. So in regards to collaboration with other facilities, we're very, very clear that we don't have any intention of any conflict of any interest with Who Cares House or any other provider in Reefton. We're wanting to bring value and utilise a community facility that we believe we can stack up under financials for absolutely no cost to the ratepayer, and a feasibility study is required for us to actually do a robust feasibility to present to council. The community have, as in Moira Lockington's letter, the community have stated that they would like that to move forward and would like council to endorse that in principle, so we can actually move forward to a second stage. So is there anything that you'd like to say, Trish?
Well, yeah, it's obviously the concept has been well supported by the community. I'm not sure why it then needs to go to the ICB, because the community has supported it. So why does the ICB need to have its input with that? I understand that they speak with the community. However, the community has spoken by supporting the concept. The other thing is the concept of the pop-up shops. We have very limited access to some facilities in Reefton, and historically the pop-up shops that came to Reefton have been phenomenally successful, and so it just provides opportunity to the community to have other retail outlets provided to them, whether it's shoes or clothing or Bed Bath and Beyond, that type of thing. And with our ageing population and the distance that people have to travel, it's logical that those things come to us as opposed to Reeftonites having to travel at least an hour to get to those services. The other thing, the community meeting space, there's not really an appropriate meeting space available in town at present. The community hall's too big. The CWI rooms are almost too small and very, very cold, particularly over winter. So to be able to provide a nice, comfortable community meeting space would be awesome for the people of Reefton.
Thank you. So the ICB meets on the 7th of May, so I understand that the proposal will be on their agenda. And so council will get that feedback as well, and it will come to our meeting in end of May, as usual.
We've just had another person on our steering group, which is from that letter of support from the Anglican Church minister. She is wanting to utilise that space, and she can see value in that. So that's been tabled, and we look forward to talking with you on ICB in May. Moira, have we got, how much time have we got, Jamie?
Yeah, you pretty much used it up, I think.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you very much.
Cool, thank you. Is there anyone else that was intending to speak at public forum?
Sorry, excuse me, can I just, as a member of the public from Reefton, on a personal consideration, say that I think it's ideal, and I endorse what Trish said about travelling. We're so stuck in Reefton, we have absolutely no public transport. People have to wait for somebody who's going to Greymouth or to wherever to get the other shopping they need. So why can't they come and use that facility as a hub? It's an ideal spot, there's parking, everything around it. It's perfect. The access for disabled, it's a brilliant building. And a lot of the townspeople are behind it, even the shopkeepers, especially when they haven't got access to the back of their buildings and things like that. There's a lot going for it. So I'd like to really seriously consider it, especially if it retains it as a building that belongs to the council. Okay, you might get instant money now, but what about the future? Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think that one's well covered off. Graham, you didn't have anything to add? No? Cool, okay, thank you. If there's no one else. Right, we'll move into the meeting proper. So welcome to the regular meeting of Buller District Council, 24th of April 2024. I'll declare the meeting open at 3:42, and we'll go straight to apologies. Now we have a few. So apologies received from Ned Telford, iwi representative, and Councillor Linda Webb. And we had a couple, just to note that I think Councillor Fallett, you need to leave early at 4:15. So note that as an apology for early departure. And just noting that Councillor Reddy and Councillor O'Keefe are attending via Zoom. Is there anything I've missed? Okay, I move that way. Is there a seconder? Councillor Naylor. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Okay, agenda item 2, members' interests. Are there any matters on today's agenda for which members wish to declare a financial or non-financial interest? Councillor.
Under grants, Market Cross Community Group.
Okay.
Under public excluded item 2.
Councillor Howard.
Agenda 8, attachment 11, so that's grants, land search and rescue.
Okay, I understand their application is being dealt with outside of the grants process, so, but we can just note it, we'll deal with that when we get to it. So I guess the only one I've got is...
Sorry, that has been removed, yeah, I haven't picked up that update.
The only one I've got is, well, the budget advice have used a letter of support from me, but and grants as well. Any other conflicts to note? Okay, so I'd like to move those ones. Councillor Grafton, seconded Councillor Fallett. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously, thanks. Okay, confirmation of minutes. Now we have some reasonably historic minutes there just to tidy up from the last Community Environment Services Committee meeting. We'll deal with those ones first. Are there any matters of correction to those minutes of the 15th of November? Okay, we'll take those ones as good. The next set to consider are the extraordinary meeting of the 7th of March of Council. Are there any matters of correction for those part of those minutes? Nothing heard. And the next set is the what one's that? Regular meeting of council on the 27th of March. Are there any matters of correction in those minutes? Nothing heard there. And the final set of the extraordinary meeting held on the 10th of April. At Chambers. Any corrections to those minutes? Nothing heard. Okay then. So I will move that council receive and confirm the public minutes from the Community Environment Services Committee meeting 15th of November 2023, the extraordinary meeting 7th of March 2024, meeting on the 27th of March 2024, and an extraordinary meeting on the 10th of April 2024. I'll move that way. Seconded, Councillor Fallon. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Right, action points. Agenda item 4. Council's action point list. I don't think there were any on there that are required this month. In fact, they are a wee way out. Is there any questions? Okay, the dates are there for when those particular points are to be updated. Somebody like to move? Deputy Mayor Basher, that council receive the action point list for information. Seconded, Councillor Grafton. Any discussion on that? All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimous. Thank you. Right, agenda item 5. Is the amendments to the Ngakawau-Hector Reserve Subcommittee terms of reference. I will go to the staff member who wants to speak to that. Ms. Tree.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just, I'll take this report as read. Would just like to acknowledge that there's been significant staff time and volunteer time from our subcommittees put towards this. This paper comes following the changes in December 23 when there was a change in the hall on the Ngakawau-Hector reserve. So this is just making sure that the terms of reference is updated and is reflective of the work done by our volunteers. Just want to point out there's a couple of things in there that recognises the volunteers are putting in significant energy and their time in towards these things, and it just hopefully clears up exactly who's doing what, and also recognises that when we change over the subcommittees at the end of the triennium, there's going to be more of a community input as to who's elected as part of that process. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, we'll do questions first and then see if there's any recommendation anyone would like to move. Okay, so there's 3 recommendations there to choose from, effectively. Councillor Nail.
I'll move option number 1.
And seconded Councillor Howard. So that is council adopt the amended terms of reference for the Ngakawau-Hector Reserve Committee attached as attachment 2. Moved Councillor Nail and seconded Councillor Howard. I'll open that for discussion. Nothing heard. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 6 is the leasehold properties. Now, this is a paper that has been through the Risk and Audit Committee, who have recommended it to full council for a final resolution. Douglas, do you have anything new to add? Paper is as read, most of you have seen it. I will open for questions if there are any. Anyone's now had time to think about it since RAC. No questions? Okay. Well, I'll move that the 20% discount of the independently assessed market value of leasehold land be discontinued from the 30th of June 2024. Is there a second? Councillor Weston. Is there any discussion on that? Councillor Naylor.
Presumably, Mr. Mayor, that anybody gets an application by the 30th will process that application.
30th of June is the cut-off. Any other discussion on that? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Okay, community grants. These are the accountability reports received from previous grants put out by council. Is there anything to speak to in this report, Ms. Trigg? Are there any questions in this report? Just dealing with the accountabilities at the moment. So there's copies there of accountability statements, reports received from Buller Budget Advisory, Buller Wheelchair Bus and Ngakawau Junction Reserve and Horse Subcommittee, New Zealand Food Network Distribution Buller and the Westport Municipal Band. The recommendation is simply that council receives that correspondence for information. No questions, I'll move that way. Seconded, Councillor Violet. Any discussion? All those in favour? Any against? I cannot see the ones on Zoom, but that's okay. Please, if on Zoom you voted differently, you'll have to come off mute and yell it out because I can no longer see you with the screen share going on. So I put that to the vote, didn't I? So that's carried unanimously. Thanks. Okay, so now we're into the community grants proper. And I have had a bit of an email to you all around how I propose trying to move through these reasonably quickly. We had a workshop on them prior. Chrissy, do you have, Ms. Trigg, do you have anything to update on where we're at?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a change to the, we've had a withdrawal from the Lyric Theatre Incorporated, and there's also been a change to Westport Landstar following the questions raised at the workshop. So that application has been funded as a separate piece of work. Noting that this is usually a great area of discussion, there are some improvements that the portfolio leads and I have been working through. We're meeting next month following this meeting just to iron out a few of those changes. So the next workshop, there'll be a few changes that you'll see, but for now we'll work through the workbook as we have, and along the lines of where Mayor Jamie said that we're going to make sure we get to the end of those nice and quick.
Thank you. Can I just check, is there any way someone can have that Zoom on their laptop or something, and if Colin or Orion puts their hand up, we can see them?
Yep, I'll work on that.
I can hear you all anyway.
Yeah, it's just quite tricky. Well, we kind of need to do. Oh, yeah, that'll be better than nothing.
But we'll lose them if we can do that.
Councillor, you might have his hand up already, has he?
Yeah.
Councillor Reedy, come off mute and speak.
We can't minimise that.
I speak it.
Yeah, go for it.
You know what they're trying to do?
Yeah, but split the screen.
You need Colin, Councillor Reedy.
Yes, yeah.
Speechless.
Oh, you can hear us, that's good. We're just trying to get at our end, we're trying to share the spreadsheet with the grants on it, and it means I can't actually see the Zoom. So we're just trying to figure out, is there a way to have you two on Zoom so I can at least see you?
Can I interrupt and ask, are we going to be able to see the shared screen? Because we can't at the moment.
You should be able to when someone shares it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought you'd already shared it. My apologies.
At our end. So just while that's being sorted, I think I indicated by email that we were going to determine each of these by a show of hands and then a voting resolution at the end to be recorded. Is everyone comfortable with that approach? Okay, so as indicated in my email the other day, the first step I think is to go down the list here, and is there any on the list which councillors do not wish to fund at all and which can be set aside from further discussion today? And we'll simply move them, any if there are. I'm not expecting there'll be a whole lot, but if there's one, someone moves it, if there's a seconder, and you will vote on whether or not it be removed from further discussion or not. Councillor Fuller?
The card speech on subcommittee application.
Okay, to be removed. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Grafton? Okay, open that one for discussion. Oops, not that one, that one. Do you have anything?
The card speech will have had quite a bit of funding through the revitalisation funds recently, so I sort of feel they'll have their fair share. I support them, but I think they'll kind of have their turn. It's time to give someone else a go.
Okay, is there any other comments? People want to speak either way on that one?
No.
Okay, I'll put that one to the vote, that Carter's Beach Hall Reserve Committee not receive any funding in this grants round. All those in favour? Any against? That one's carried unanimously. Okay, so that one can be eliminated now. Is there any others? Councillor Howard.
The Grey Valley Rugby Club.
Grey Valley Rugby Club. Is there a seconder for removing Grey Valley Rugby Club? Councillor Grafton. Open that one for discussion. Anyone have anything to say? Councillor Grafton?
Yeah, I just think I'm not overly positive about the figures they've given, and I think it's Grey Valley's based in Green under the West Coast, so
yep,
they can be funding it.
Councillor Naylor?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. They do play in the West Coast competition, but Reefton hasn't got a senior team this year, and I understand some of the boys from Reefton will be going.
My understanding, I might not be exact, but almost all of them are playing in all the competition. Not for Grey Valley.
And just in terms of the junior rugby, well, that sort of comes from the top of the saddle down is the catchment area. So there are, I mean, Ngakawau is actually in the Bulla district, and I see by their application they're saying that they don't get much funding out there for anything else, and so this was a way of getting some council funding towards the community.
Okay, Councillor Sampson.
I concur with what's been said, and just also say that it was for uniforms, jerseys right down to socks and hoodies, and I'm just not in favour of funding uniforms.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favour of Grey Valley? Okay, I'll put that to the vote that Grey Valley Rugby Club's application be removed. All those in favour? All those against? So that one is removed as well. Are there any others? Oh, Councillor Howard.
The Westport Whitebait Festival. It's because it's for a concept plan for an area that's had a community revitalisation in relatively recent times. It was very good community consultation what they wanted, so I see no need for a revamp of that area.
Is there a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Sampson. Any further discussion on that? Anyone want to speak in favour of that one? Okay, I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour of Westport Whitebait Festival's application being set aside? Any against? That one's carried unanimously from that as well. Are there any others to receive no support this funding round? Okay, so
May I?
beg your pardon, Colin. Councillor Eadie, sorry.
Thank you. Yes, okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just the Home Builders West Coast 4,000 insurance. My understanding of that I know it's a trust, but it's also an NGO. And what we're looking at here is the house down in Russell Street, I'm assuming, for that. And I just think the 4,000 might be a bit over the top. And I'm just wondering why we are actually supporting. I know it's a trust, as I said before, but it is also an NGO. And I believe the money could be spent elsewhere with other community groups who don't have any other funding.
Okay, so at the moment we're just discussing no funding at all versus partial. So what I'm hearing is you're suggesting no funding at all?
Correct.
Is there a seconder for that view? Councillor Naylon, seconding? You seconding that, Councillor Naylon?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's been moved and seconded. Does anyone want to speak in support of home builders application? Councillor Grafton?
Just on that, as Colin suggested that it was on one building, is it 2 buildings that they're talking of insurance cover?
I believe it's one.
3 buildings,
Within the one site.
67A, 69A and 69, it's all, yeah.
Councillor Howard?
I'll speak in support. I think Councillor Eadie shows a lack of understanding of the funding of NGOs. I queried that and they said they're only funded 80% and a lot of their funding for specific service delivery, not for their overheads. And I believe in the questions that verified those insurance costs and that's been responded to. So given all the work they do in the community and how much they support local residents, I'm supporting the application.
Okay, anyone else want to speak? Again, in support of them being excluded? Okay, so I'll put that to the vote that so it's been moved and seconded that the Home Builders West Coast Trust receive no funding or be excluded from this funding round. That's been moved and seconded. All those in favour of that? That's 2. All those against? Okay, so the motion is carried. They can remain in. Thank you, councillors. Is there anything else before we move on to the partial? Okay.
I'll just double check with Nicola down the end, but I think with the ones that have been taken out already, that's there's just one that we've got as a partial fund or a maybe, and otherwise that's within a funding round.
Yeah, but the partials are amount that come from the workshop, so we just want to determine. So we'll use them as the basis for our conversation, but obviously the amounts within the partials can be altered. Councillor Sampson?
The Reefton boxing, it's down there as a maybe, but I was opposed to it. And we asked for further clarification, and I'm not sure that came through, because again, it's for tracksuits and t-shirts, again, uniforms and representing Reefton tournaments. So I can't remember any clarification coming through from that.
Just a quick question on that one then.
Yeah, we had clarification around the rural travel fund, but not around the tracksuit. They've applied for both funds, but with no specific question for the other one.
So I was
Yeah.
opposed to it, so I'd like to move it.
Move it as excluded altogether. Okay, is there a seconder for that view? Councillor Farley? Okay. Anyone want to speak in support of it? Councillor Naylor?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I guess that if we haven't funded these in the past to any other sporting organisation or any organisation at all in terms of tracksuits and that, I'd be happy to take it off. But if we've already funded that over the years in past grants, then I think it's a worthy one to stay on.
We'll pause there and see some clarity. Is that something that was funded previously? Okay, we'll work on that. Anyone else?
Well, and just add to that, there was funding sort of in the last round, probably rural grants, 12 months ago to the Reefton boxing. But I'm not sure whether it was for, it would have to be clarified, for tracksuits or what it was for.
We're just checking that, councillor.
And I think even online, they mention that they've got colours, blue and red already for their uniforms. Yeah.
Yeah, this came up at the workshop, Mr. Mayor. there was a Reefton Boxing Club, as I said, that was based at the Reefton Area School, and that went defunct, and there's some sort of murkiness around that at the moment, and so this is a completely new boxing club, even though they've taken the name Reefton Boxing Club. They've only just been going for the 12 months, so any previous money hasn't gone to this group.
Right. Okay. Okay. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. It has been moved and seconded to remove them. Is there anyone else want to speak before I put that to the vote?
I just wanted to add, I do support the group and I think it's good to encourage sports, and I'd love to give everybody on this list all of the money that they want, but we don't have a lot to spread around, and $7 grand to benefit sort of maybe 20 people, I think is just not benefiting a large group of the community.
But just to be clear, the next phase is partial funding, so
Yeah.
most of these aren't going to get their full amount.
I don't think
So
a
this
very
is
small amount of, what's the point of buying one person a track, so that's
okay.
just my opinion.
Anyone else? Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to remove the Reefton Boxing application altogether. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? Okay, can I just check online? How did you vote? Oh, Tony's up.
So I'm into partial. I'm not really into removing them altogether.
Yeah. So that's the mood. So the motion's lost, so they will remain in as a partial. Okay, Councillor Deputy Mayor.
I just want to also, the one that we had maybe talk about maybe the improving a north wall of the Ngakawau Hall. When I look at some of these other things, it didn't seem to me a real priority. And as soon as you start repairing walls, you don't actually know what the cost is going to be. And to me, when there's a limited amount of funding, same as at least there's lots of worthy projects, and I'm not sure a building project is the avenue for community grants. And so I would like to move that they would become a none in this particular round.
Yeah, I'll just note that.
Thank you, Councillor. It's a great question. Ngakawau have applied to the grant fundings a number of times, and they always seem to miss out. We are working with them on an asset management plan for the hall. It does need a lot of love, and we can only go within the budgets for repairs and maintenance this year. So what they're proposing is over and above what we're able to fund, but we are continuing to work with them. But I do note, similar to your comments earlier, they do apply for a lot and they don't often get anything from council in the grant funding round. Potentially we could bring that back to their annual plan time if they provide a submission. But I think Councillor Naylor would agree, it's one of the ones that does get overlooked fairly often.
Hello, so can you see me?
Yeah, I've got you. Hang on just a sec. So, okay. So I'll just check, is there a seconder for Mr. Basher's? Mr. Basher, Deputy Mayor Basher, I'm not at high school now. It's been a long time. To remove a Ngakawau junction before we get to remove it. Okay, so it is open for discussion. Tony, Councillor, beg your pardon.
Hi. Yeah, so the last funding round they tried, but they didn't really have enough information. And they've gone back, they've fulfilled all the information, they've got all the quotes, and they've done everything that they were asked to do. I drove past the Ngakawau Hall about 4 days ago. It needs a lot of work, and it's a real struggle. I think we should definitely keep it on there and give them the full amount. I think they actually really need it. So that's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sampson.
While I sort of say remove it, I'm on the same line as the Deputy Mayor. They did receive funding last time, and for some reason, I don't know why, that they're paying rates. So I'm not sure why a reserve is paying rates. And but going back to this cause here, under community facilities in our budgets, the budget is well underspent. And I strongly believe this is where the money should be, because I have asked where is that community facilities budget-wise and underspent? I haven't got an answer, and I think you go back to it now, it will still be underspent in this year. So I think money should be coming from from council R&M. And if it's underspent for some reason other than this, I believe more substantial money should be coming from that fund.
Okay, so it's been Councillor Noel.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I guess from my perspective, we've put a lot of money into the Carter's Beach Hall, which is less than 10 minutes from all our wonderful facilities here in Westport. So obviously the council thinks that these local halls are vital parts of the community. And if you put that out into an area like Ngakawau, well, it's an even more vital part of the community because they are some 45, 50 minutes away from the common facilities here in Westport. So I sort of find it a bit difficult when we're funding great amounts of hall that's 10 minutes away, but we won't fund one in terms of the Ngakawau Junction. And the reality is these halls are the community hubs for these areas. And I understand that some people think we've got too many halls and we shouldn't be funding them. But my question would be, well, why are we funding Carter's Beach when it's only 10 minutes from all the facilities here in Westport? So I think we should stay there.
Cool. Councillor Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm also in support of the Ngakawau Hall. What I'm not in support of, though, is we've only got one quote. I'd like to see a second quote. Secondly, my understanding is the organisation has provided the vote, the quote. This particular work requires a LBP, licensed building practitioner, because it's got to do with the walls and potentially structure. And I do understand that the organisation has provided the quote does not have a LPB in their ranks. So if we can get another quote to support the quote that's come in, then I would consider it to be to stay on the list. But at the moment, I'm concerned about it. Risk.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to speak? Councillor, the Deputy Mayor, this will be your closing address.
I support all these causes. They're all good causes, but we've got a bottom line that we've got to meet. I'm not sure how valuable $6,000 is going to be in restoring a building. You look at a building and they charge you $3,000, and I'm just not sure that there's going to be anything substantial for $7,000. If the hall needs something, then we need to find a different way. I agree, they're community facilities, but I don't think community grants is the way. I think it obviously needs more substantial funding than that, and I think we need to look at a different way of funding it. That's sort of where I'm looking at, because I just don't think $7,000. And if we did partial funding, then you'd probably get a couple of nails in a 2x4. So I just don't think $7,000 is actually is going to do the job.
Okay, that's the right of reply. So it's been moved and seconded that the Ngakawau Junction Reserve Hall Committee grant application be set aside for this funding round. All those in favour of that? All those against? Okay, so it remains in. Okay, thank you. We'll go to the list again, and we will have, is there anyone wants to move a application that should be supported in full?
I'll start at the top. I move that the Budget Advisory Service be supported in full.
Okay. I'm happy to second that. Oh, no, I better not, sorry. I provided a letter of support to that one. I think I can still chair the matter, but I won't move and second it. If anyone else wants to second that?
I can second that.
Seconded Councillor O'Keefe. I'll open that for discussion. So this is to fund the Buller Budget Advisory Service an amount of $12,416 for the rent, phone and insurance expenses. Speaking, councillor Howard.
I'd be in favour of partial funding. I'd be in favour of supporting the rent, which comes to $8,616. $12,000 is a potential amount to give to one organisation when there's such a range that are applied for funding. It's obviously a bit of an oversight, but it's probably a whole lot of other charities that would also partially fund them. Supporting them to apply for some like pub charity or some other ones.
Okay, anyone else want to speak either way of that one? It's been moved and seconded for the full amount. Okay, I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour of full budget advisory full amount $12,416, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those against? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the motion is lost. We'll carry on with full amounts. Is there any other ones people want to recommend full amount? Councillor Bartlett.
The Westport Municipal Band, I'm supporting full.
Municipal Band at 372,134. Is there a seconder for that?
I second that.
Councillor Howard got in first. Any discussion on that one at three full amount? Okay, all those in favour of municipal bank getting full amount $3,721.34. All those in favour? Any against? Councillor Eadie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Did you say seconded by Councillor Howard?
Yes.
Who seconded the? I believe Councillor Howard's part of the municipal band. Is that correct?
Oh no, I don't play a trumpet, Councillor Eadie.
No, Councillor Howard's in the pipe band, the Scottish one.
The pipe.
The one that played the bagpipes in that. This is the the brass band. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I understand.
Yeah, so that's carried. That's carried. That's okay. So that one's done. Anyone else for full? Sorry, Councillor Valla.
I support the Home Builders Trust in full.
Home Builders Trust. Happy to second that. Anyone want to speak other way on that? Okay, all those in favour of Home Builders Trust application 4,000. 1, 2, 3. Any against? 1, 2 against. That one's carried. So that's 4. Any others for full funding, please?
Yes.
Tony. Councillor O'Keefe.
Of course, I would like to support the Northern Buller Museum Ranny.
So they're requesting 10,000.
They are.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Fowler. Open that one for discussion. This is whittling away the available funds for partial. That's cool. That's everyone knows. Any discussion on Northern Buller at 10,000?
Well, it's a group that have been worrying away and just improving that facility quite substantially over the last sort of 15, 20 years, and they're out there trying to get everything they can and work very hard, and I see it every time I go by, but it's just looking quite an improvement to what it was. So I think any support they can get is worthwhile.
Okay, is there anyone else? Councillor Howard?
I was going to say with partial, it may be sort of look at where the allocation's gone in the end.
Well, we're dealing with full at the moment, so it's moved and seconded at full, but you can vote against. Any other speakers against or for Northern Buller getting 10,000? Okay, I put that one to the vote, that Northern Waller Museum Granity's application for 10,000 be approved in full. All those in favour? Any against? Okay, that's a draw. I think. Colin, did you vote?
Oh, no, I forgot to put my hand up. Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
You've got a casting vote. Are you for or against?
I'm against full funding at the moment.
So the motion is lost, so I'll stay in as partial. Are there any others for full funding? Councillor Howard.
For the full funding of Charleston Westport Coastal Trail Trust. They do such a lot of work in the community, and I'd like to support them for the $3,120.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Councillor Weston. Open that one for discussion. It's $3,120.60 is their full application. It's been put forward to support in full. Anyone want to speak?
Speak up, Colin.
Oh, Councillor Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This trust has received a considerable amount of money. I believe they received some money from the fund last year to fund some bikes on their behalf. Now we're looking at funding some bike stands. I'm just wondering whether or not it's time for money to be spent elsewhere rather than going to this particular organisation. And for the record, I'm not against it. I'm just aware of the fact that they have received a considerable amount of funding, both from central and local government.
Yep. Anyone want to speak in favour? Okay, I'll put that one to the vote. Oh, did you want to?
Oh, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I've just said most of the central government funding they get is just for track building, not for track maintenance.
Thank you. So there's been moved and seconded that the Kawatiri Westport Coastal Trail Trust receive the full amount of $3,120.60. I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Okay, so that one's lost. It still remains in for partial. Okay. Councillor Howard.
For another one, I'll put in for the St John's Youth that they get the full amount of $1,200.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I'll second that one. Any discussion on St John Youth getting $1,200? Councillor.
Yes, St John's nationwide funded pretty well through central government. I don't think that we should be getting into rate funding.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to speak in relation to this one? Councillor Reedy. Councillor Reedy.
I think he's frozen.
Oh, it's frozen. Sorry. With his hand up. How unfortunate. Okay. He might come right in a minute. He might realise he's not here. Surely he's not hearing us.
I'm going to go right in 10 minutes.
Okay, we just have to note Councillor Reedy's dropped off, but I will put that one to the vote. For this is St John Youth, $1,200. All those in favour of full support of that one?
Yep.
All those against? That one's carried. Thank you. 1,200. Okay, any others that justify full funding?
Yep, I can speak up to, is it the victim support group?
Victim support. Yep, they want 8,000. Is there a seconder for that? There is no seconder, so we'll move on. Councillor Howard.
I'll move the Market Cross Community Group gets the full $4,111.36 for insurance.
Oh, yes.
Okay, 4,111.37. Is there a seconder for that?
Yep.
Councillor O'Keefe. Open that one for discussion. Okay, that's, I'll put that to the vote then. All those in support of Market Cross Community Group receiving $4,111.37. All those in favour? Any against?
I abstain.
Sorry, just quickly do the fours again, please. 2, 5, 6. Okay, that's carried. Noting Councillor Sampson abstained. Right, are there any others to deal with in full? Okay, so can we just get a quick tally of where we're at with what's left to distribute?
Yeah.
13 grand. 13,000.
And so we'll go back to
I moved in above the advisory service get $8,616.
okay, so they were our partials that we discussed at a workshop. 8,616 for Buller Budget Advisories, being moved by Deputy Basher. Seconded Councillor Howard. Open that one for discussion. All those in favour? Any against? Okay, that one's carried. 8616, neat. Those lectures out. Okay, Charleston Westport Coastal Trail Trust. Just down for a partial. Does anyone have a number they want to put for that? $2,000. Is there a seconder for 2? Seconded Councillor Howard. Discussion on that. All those in favour? Any against? Okay, that one is lost. Is there a different amount?
Can we come back to that?
We'll come back to it, okay. That one's out, come back to that, that one's out. That one's full, right, Ngakawau-Hector. So we would, what did we do? We didn't get full for that, did we? So this is partial. Councillor Martin, want to put a number?
$5,000.
5,000 moved. Is there a seconder for that?
Yeah.
Councillor Weston is seconded. Any discussion on that further?
Just in terms of, I don't know, returning, I don't hear that, much, but to get that wall, to quite a bit in terms of opening up the hall, making a lot warmer, that's the sunny side of the hall, it's a little windy down there. And so it'll help with the heating costs. In terms of, the second quote, they're struggling actually to get quotes, so we're lucky to get one, simply built and stuff off the road here. So we're lucky we've got one builder. The LTV, that builder does use an LTV service. So it's pretty kosher. Yep.
Okay, anyone want to speak against 5,000 for Ngakawau-Hector? Paul? Okay.
I just think we'll send a signal. I mean, I don't think it's going to be enough to do something substantial, but at least they might know that they're getting support.
So Sampson?
And I'll support that, but I do want the community facilities funding R&M looked at to sort of up that, because I agree with Graham and everything he said, and 5 isn't a lot, but I think we should be looking at our own council R&M community facilities funding more substantially.
So it's been moved and seconded at 5,000. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried.
I'd like to move the museum, Northern Buller Museum, gets 5,000.
I just put one of those in the wrong column. Okay, so 5,000 for Northern Buller Museum. Is there a seconder for that? Tony, Councillor O'Keefe, seconder. Any discussion further on that one?
Can I speak? Yeah. I just think for the same reason as an anchor, it's not going to do the whole job, but it's a good lever for them as well, and let them know they're being supported.
Is there anyone against 5,000 for the Northern Buller Museum? All those in favour? Any against? That's 5,000 for them, which is partial. Okay, reefs and boxing. Anyone have a number? Or not yet?
Can I move victim support?
Okay, we'll go down to victim support, yes.
I'd like to move victim support to get $4,000.
$4,000 for victim support, seconder. Councillor Howard, I'll open that for discussion. Councillor Naylor.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, this is something that as a nation we should be supporting by way of our taxes rather than rate it's a really important thing. And to have to go cap in hand to council for money just seems ridiculous to me when this is actually a nationwide problem. Should be dealt with by central government. I'm happy that we support an application or advocate on their behalf that this is not something that we can do without, but it needs to be funded by central government, not by ratepayer.
Any other discussion on that? So it's 4,000 for victim support. I understand that's spent locally. Yep.
It is locally, but if you look at the balance sheet, it is really quite substantial. That, they don't appear to be short on the funding.
Okay, well, is there any other? Councillor Reedy, sorry, just missed your hand.
That's okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Graham Naylon. It's a national effort. Also, I believe it's West Coast based in Greymouth, and they're looking at paying salaries and the like included in this funding request. Well, I don't believe that's our function for community grants to be paying salaries and the like. So I don't believe we should be, and we haven't funded them before. So I don't believe we should be funding it at all.
Okay, thank you. So that's some speakers for and against that. All those in favour, $4,000 partial fund to victim support. 1, 2, 3, 4. All those against. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that one's lost at the moment. Okay. We just need to revisit. How are we going for our number?
31,648 so far.
79 remaining. Okay. Councillor Howard.
Well, I'd like to put on the thing of the outdoors. They actually came and discussed the program with the Community Service Committee back then, and they do their very, very best to support local youth and local program and incorporating things that help within our local community, whether around environment, tree planting. But there's a very targeted to at-risk, a lot of at-risk youth. And we haven't supported them in the past, I think.
How much? Money.
We thought we'd always declined in the past. We
No,
a little bit.
how much money do you want?
Well, maybe the full amount if we've got that to spare, but definitely 2.5.
Okay. Which is it? You're the mover?
Oh, we'll put 2.5 at the start.
2.5. Is there a second? Deputy Mayor Basher, 2,500 for Whenua ET Outdoors. Is there any discussion on this one? Councillor Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The organisation has been down here on many occasions previously. They're funded obviously by central government as an NGO. What they're looking at for now is initially, I can't remember the amount, $5,000, so that they could extend the program for 2 more days. I'm just not sure what benefit the community are going to get by extending the effort by 2 more days for $5,000 or even $2,500, when basically they're being funded for the 2 days which they're down here for anyway. And I don't believe we've funded them previously because they are centrally funded.
Okay,
Yes, Merva, can I reply?
we'll get the right reply at the end. Deputy.
They do a lot of work for our students and they certainly for at-risk students and at-risk children in our community. It's a great resource, and a lot of our programs, they run already at full-day programs, and they struggle to get here for them, but it's of great benefit for our students. So anything that work for at-risk kids is good for me.
Is there anyone want to speak against it? Okay, you got anything new?
Yeah, well, I'd just like to agree, that's just me, like to agree with Deputy Mayor about that, and I've even gone up to where their outdoor thing is up in Motueka and helped them out up there, and it was all football kids as well. So they not only have them here, but they take them up there as well.
Cool. Okay, right of reply, Councillor Howard.
I'd just like to say that they have in the past used some of the funding that received from other districts and put it into our district. Councillor Reedy's comment about their funding. Some of the contracts are only for targeted youth and have been referrals. They haven't been able to use that contract in broadening their delivery to other, maybe less at risk children. So this introduces a wide range of youth into their program.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded at 2,500. All those in favour? Any against? Okay, the motion's carried at 2-5. You're like an auctioneer. Wholesale. Okay.
Yeah, I'll move to the boxing club.
Yes.
I'm not moving the full amount. I think that they are dealing with what we've just been talking about, at-risk youth. So it's a little bit of a program mainly for that, and a lot of single parents where there's no male figure or in the relationship. So they are doing really good work. But so I'd say a couple of $1,000 towards that club, and they can get what uniforms and etc. that they can out of that, and maybe use that as seed funding for sponsorship for the rest of the year.
Is there a seconder for 2,000 for Reefton Boxing? Councillor Howard? Councillor Howard seconded. Councillor Reedy? Oh, you're seconding?
Correct, yep.
Okay, so Councillor Howard beat you to it. Cool. Anyone want to speak either way on that for, was it 2,000 or 2.5, did you say? 2,000 for Reefton Boxing. Okay, all those in favour? Any against? That one's carried. Right, we have 3,400 left. And we have not funded anything for victim support or for Charleston Westport Coastal Trail. Those are the only ones.
Yes.
So Charleston Westport Coastal Trail are looking for $3,120.60 and victim support are looking for $8,000. And we have what left, did you say? $3,403.
Can I move 2,000 for victim support? It is like an auction.
Okay, $2,000 for victim support. Is there a seconder? Councillor Weston, we've talked about this one. All those in favour of 2,000 for victim support? Those against? That is a draw. Sorry, what was it? All those in favour again, please? 1, 2, 3.
5.
Oh, sorry, Tony, and 4. Okay, so it's carried. 2,005 for $2,000 to victim support, and I suggest that
The rest goes to the other one.
$1,403 to the Charleston Coastal Trail Trust. I move that way. Seconder, Councillor Grafton. Any further discussion on that? All those in favour? Any against? Tony's against, Graham's against. That's carried. Okay, so that one's done. So let's just tidy that up with a Okay, so the recommendation is the Buller District Council considers the funding application and advises its decision. So will we quickly read down them? Buller Budget Advisory Service, $8,616. Charleston Westport Coastal Trail Trust, $1,403. Hatohone St John Youth, $1,200. Ngakawau Junction Reserve and Horse Subcommittee, $5,000. Market Cross Community Group, $4,111.37. The Northern Buller Museum Granity, $5,000. Reefton Boxing, $2,000. Westport Municipal Band, $3,721.34. The Whenua Iti Outdoors, $2,500. Home Builders West Coast Trust, $4,000, and New Zealand Council Victim Support Groups, $2,000. As discussed and voted on individually, I move that way. Seconder, please, for that. Seconded Deputy Mayor Basher. All those in favour? Any against? So that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to the Rural Travel Fund. And have we got them on a spreadsheet or not? Oh, beg your pardon. Accountability reports, beg your pardon. So agenda item 9 is the accountability reports for the previous fund grants from the Rural Travel Fund from the Reefton Boxing Club, Reefton Rugby Club Boys and Reefton Rugby Club Girls. Any questions out of that? I move that we receive that correspondence for information. Is there a seconder? Seconder, Councillor O'Keefe. Any discussion? All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Right, we move on to the Rural Travel Fund applications. Agenda item 10. And we have $12,150 available to distribute. And we have applications from 6 parties looking for 22,820. So we will need to go through those now. So are there any on this list that councillors wish to remove and not consider for funding this round? Okay, so we're all going to be some form of partial. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Is there any that someone would like to move full funding for? Deputy Mayor Basher?
I move that 1, 2 and 3 are all fully funded.
Okay, that's seconded Councillor Sampson. So that is the Buller Gymnastics Club at 1,320, the Hockey Association Buller at 2,000, and the Reefton Basketball Association at 1,000. Has been moved. Deputy Basher seconded. Councillor Sampson. Discussion on that. Nope. All those in favour? Any against? Councillor, any against? That's gets carried. Okay, so that leaves Reefton Boxing, Reefton Boys Rugby, Reefton Rugby Club Boys, Reefton Rugby Club Girls. How do we want to handle these, please? Have we got obviously we can't fund them fully, so.
I'd like to move that the Reefton Rugby Club Boys gets 4,500 what they applied for. We didn't slip them into the first 3.
That's why I would say 6.
4,000. Oh, I beg your pardon, sorry. Yeah.
So you're moving how much?
No.
Okay. Okay, so let's just work through them then. Reefton Boxing, so noting, what have we got still left? 7830 undistributed. And so we've got those bottom 3, 4, 5 and 6 to determine. Reefton Boxing Gym. Someone want to help me out with a number? No?
I'd be happy to split it between the 3.
I was going to say, could we, yes,
okay.
It's 2.5, I move that 2.5 goes to Reefton Boxing.
Seconder for that. Seconded councillor Naylor, 2,500 to the Reefton Boxing Gym. Open that for discussion. All those in favour?
Before we do, it was a little bit unclear about whether they actually qualify, because they're going outside of the district. And the answer to the question, I couldn't actually work out whether they did or didn't qualify in terms of the fund.
Yeah, because they actually live in Reefton, even though they have to travel out of the area, they're still eligible for the fund because they won't be able to compete because there's nowhere to compete within the area.
So clarified. Thanks.
So that eligible. Councillor Howard.
I'd like to move that the Reefton girls get $2,000.
So we've got one on the table. Yep. So what was your number, Mr. Basham? 2,500, and there was second, Councillor Naylor. Open that one. Councillor Reedy, hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just regarding the Reefton Boxing Gym, talking about having to travel out of district for competition, I agree. However, the fund cannot be used to travel for tournaments and the like. So we have to make sure that if they're going to go out, say to Motueka or to Christchurch, that it is just for, if you like, club type activity, not tournament.
Wasn't it saying training?
That's what it says, yeah.
No, it also mentioned in their tournaments. If you want to go back a little bit so we can have a read. I'm sure they talked about in their application tournaments. Tournaments are a no-no.
Yeah, noted. So there's a moved and second at 2,500 for Reefton Boxing. All those in favour? Any against? 1, 2, 3, 5. Against? Okay, that's carried. 2,500. And that will leave us 5,330. And
I'll be happy to move that the boys, because girls got quite a bit of money last year, if I recall. The boys get 3,500.
Yeah, from memory, from their application, without diving into it, the boys, there's quite a number of them. So headcount wise,
that's why
proportionality, they should get a bit more than the girls. Not because they're boys and girls, but just literally because there's more of them.
I mentioned it before. It's actually for JAB, so girls and boys play JAB. So it's a bit of a misnomer. Boys, the girls are senior girls travelling from Reefton to Stoke to play in the senior competition.
Okay.
Over 14, they can't play in mixed competition.
Right.
That's right.
So I'd still like to move boys because that includes the young girls as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the only thing about the girls one is they've got a lot further travelling.
Yeah.
And there's a small number of them.
Okay. So we had a number of 3,500 for the Reefton Rugby Club boys JAB, let's call it. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Grafton, discussion on that. All those in favour at 3,500. Any against? That one is carried at 3,500. And that leaves us with 1,830, which I move go to the Reefton Rugby Girls. Seconded to Mia Basher. All those in favour? Any against? That one's carried. Okay, so can we just, I didn't write these down, so can we just read those back? Those ones are full. So the overall recommendation is the Village Council doing that, approves the Rural Travel Fund applications as follows: Buller Gymnastics Club at 1,320, Buller Hockey Association at 2,000, Reefton Basketball Association 1,000, Reefton Boxing Gym 2,500, Reefton Boys Rugby Club Boys JAB 3,500, and the Reefton Rugby Club Girls 1,830. I move that way. Second to Councillor Weston. All those in favour? Any against? So that one is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to, how are we going for time? 10-2. Right, let's try and get through the public part. Agenda item 11. What we're up to? Yep. So that is the Mayor's report. Thank you, Nicola and Chrissy, for the grants. That wasn't too bad in terms of getting through it. Right, Mayor's report. Take the report as read, noting there is a couple of additional recommendations for your consideration, one of which is the payment of Local Government New Zealand's membership fee and the trying to think of the word, the retrospective approval of the council's submission to the fast track approvals bill. So I'll open the report for questions. And we can go through those one at a time otherwise. Anyone have anything for me? Okay.
I think just a little bit on the submission around the fast track one. Generally, I think it's really, the first essence when you read it is, oh, we don't support it. So I think maybe in principle we sort of agree with some of the principle of fast tracking for certain circumstances, but definitely when you read in detail and think it through, it has made the point that the community aspects and council aspects are very important to consider. So, but I just wondered, just maybe a little bit in the leading one and saying that some of the fast track has merit, rather than it sort of sounds as if we're negative against it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's been quite a lot of what we say, chatter or whatever among councils around this legislation, and it was a subject of a presentation at local government, rural provincial, or might have been the combined sector day of the last time I was in Wellington. And and so the focus of that was council submissions on this piece of legislation, this proposed bill, and it was highlighting really that generally everyone is in support of it because it is going to get some projects moving, but there was it can't be ignored that there's significant risk to councils within the bill. One of which is that the very short time frame councils have to respond. So, there could be a really complex project that is through that process that may have been previously not actually known to council or necessarily generated from within the community, for instance, and council has 10 days to assess all of the implications that might have on our roads or water or whatever, which is a pretty short time frame. The other thing that I think was highlighted is that a consent granted under the fast track legislation is deemed to be a consent granted under the RMA. And so once it's granted, it effectively sits under the RMA. So all the responsibilities council has around monitoring and the like of that comes back to council, and we haven't necessarily had any input into the granting of that consent. So there was deemed to be a bit of risk to council from that as well. And then there was nothing in the legislation, in the proposed legislation, that required any real test around whether there was general support of a small community or of the community of a project, not necessarily on any particular, talking about environment or whatever, but just was this something the community had been railing for or championing for, or was there any demonstrable support for it? And so that was the idea of around having some sort of test in there that they need to be able to show they've at least had a conversation with the community.
So just to clarify, I do support the comments that you made, and I think it's really good, and appreciate the work that staff did in putting it together in such a short time frame. But I just thought there are some merits to, and certainly some of the things that we want to happen, having to go through the appeal process and everything like that. So I just thought we could just say support the government for looking at speeding some of the barriers to progress in our district. So I think we could start with a compliment and then say these are our concerns.
Yeah. Noted. Okay, any other? Have we got Councillor Reedy?
Thank you. I voiced my concern as per the email. We haven't really discussed this matter so much, but I accept that given the timeframes. As me is that, and it's probably central government run here, but one, we seem to be overriding the RMA by using these shortcuts. Two, we've got the TTPP that is, for whatever reason, seems to be going through a few hurdles. So what we're saying is that yes, we support this so that we can get round the TTPP and the RMA and let's get moving. Now, that's my understanding of it. And of course, what we're looking at is perhaps one of the reasons is fast tracking Elmer Road and change that was originally part of TTPP with rezoning. And now all of a sudden we're saying, oh, no, let's get them behind the fast track. We'll stick all these in through the back door, and I'm going to call it the back door. And these items, rightly or wrongly, I might add, because I know the RMA does is quite a bit of red tape after 30 odd years, but it is what it is until such time that the RMA is repealed or amended in whatever way. And that, of course, is what we know full well. Labor we're about to do. National have come in and said, no, we're not going to do that, but let's just fast track everything. So, but I support, Mr. Mayor, the letter that you sent, but I had my concerns about the ongoing pressures having been put on our small council, on the staffing, and potentially, obviously on the road, but potentially other areas within the Buller district. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the other matter I'm wanting, or just to flesh out questions on, I guess, is the LGNZ membership. If there's anything anyone wants to talk about there before we move to the recommendations. Okay, so there's 4 recommendations. One is receive the report for discussion and information. Somebody like to move that? Deputy Mayor Basher, seconded Councillor Weston. All those in favour? Any against? That one's carried. Thank you. It's carried. Okay, noting the inward and outwards correspondence, provide direction for any responses required. Somebody move that way. Councillor Grafton, seconded Deputy Mayor Basher. Any discussion on that? All those in favour? Any against? That one's carried. Okay, the third recommendation approves payment of the LGNZ membership fee for 2024-25 year. I'll move that way. Seconded. Is there a seconder? Councillor Grafton. Open that one for discussion. Councillor Nolan.
There's a lot of councils around New Zealand that are saying we're not getting fair value for money. We're not getting any value. But I'm just wondering, what are we getting out there?
So there's some information in the report, but what it gives us is, well, it's all talked about in the report, really. We benefit from all of those, and the other pieces of advocacy they do on our behalf. I understand the team do lean on them for policy advice from time to time on things that we don't have in-house capability for. One thing that was a bit of a fly in the ointment this time around was the submission for the fast track bill. So they were presenting one, but I understand our staff weren't able to find that, so it hadn't been shared with us, because normally we would base our submission on their one, and so that wasn't forthcoming this time. I presume they must have got behind time-wise as well. But it's that kind of thing. Often they provide the basis of some, they do the deep dives into proposed legislation and then provide a sort of a local government New Zealand submission that often our team are able to contemporise for ourselves, so that we do have a voice at the table in these national conversations. So it's that kind of thing. The other big thing, membership, is the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs. That's probably the biggest financial benefit. So that is currently, since that program started, has brought circa, I think my report does say circa 1.5 million, which we would not have access to if we're not a member of LGNZ. So that is a LGNZ initiated relationship with Ministry of Social Development, and it's member councils that get access to that. So that in itself is pretty compelling. Yeah. Does anyone, staff, have anything to add in terms of what we get from LGNZ?
Access to training.
Oh, yes.
A lot of really good training resources.
So that's the other change, is the change. We remember last year we subscribed to the Akina professional development online tutorials and the like for an additional fee. That now has been discontinued in terms of an additional subscription and is included in your annual fee. And so that provides councillors access to all of the different seminars and webinars and training opportunities and things that go with that, which does provide a resource that otherwise we would be potentially bringing in training or sending people away to courses and things. Councillor, anyone else have anything to say on LGNZ? There's no hands up. He hasn't got it up now. Oh, he has now. Councillor Reid.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I support the comments that Graham has made. There has been comment over the years about the effectiveness of LGNZ. But I do hear what you're saying regarding the some of the support that they provide for a small council like Buller. I know they also provide some legal support, and I'm not sure whether or not I know you've used it one time regarding myself, but how often we use that as opposed to our lawyers in Richmond. So are we getting value, any additional value out of that $43,000 subscription? That's my only question.
Yeah, I'm not aware of us getting legal advice from them. I think we've had advice around things like standing orders and meeting protocols and things like that. I presume that's what you're referring to when I have sought advice on that from their Dr. Mike Reid, who's pretty much the preeminent expert on meeting and standing orders in local government and the like. On a couple of matters we've had come before council in my time, but specific legal advice is a matter that council has its own counsel for. Okay. If there's nothing else, that one has been moved and seconded for payment of the LGNZ membership fee for 24-25 year. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, and the final one is approving the submission on the fast track approvals bill made to Parliament's Environment Committee on the 19th of April 2024. It's included in the correspondence. Someone want to move? Deputy Mayor Basher, seconded Councillor Grafton. Open that one for discussion. Councillor Nail.
Just in terms of what was spoken about before, in terms of changes to this, what's the process? And it's in there now.
Yeah, I think it's really the submission is as written, but we can certainly withdraw it if there's not democratic support today to retrospectively approve it. Then it's a simple email to ask for our submission to be withdrawn, and we're back to status quo, which is we won't have a voice at the table, which was what would have happened if we hadn't have tried to expedite the process as we have. So that's the option council has really. It's this submission or ask it to be withdrawn is what the effect of voting down that recommendation would be.
Well, I guess I've already expressed my concerns about part of the submission, but I guess what I haven't expressed is following on from what Councillor Reid had said, about the process, if you like, how we've got to retrospectively approve something. When the submission was opened on the 14th of March, it just seems a little bit too much pressure on people, I think, to and I'm not sure that we should actually be conducting council business by way of emails.
Yep. Noted.
And I concur with that too.
Okay. It's just what I was circulated by email, and and Councillor Naylon and Reedy were the only councillors who indicated a difference of how we should conduct that. So that's noted, but clearly well short of a majority that wasn't acceptable to council. But today is when we test whether or not it is acceptable to council. So
I didn't respond because everything was said and what the others had said. So. And we should have picked up on it way back on the 14th. Because we did have the opportunity at that one. We didn't.
Yep. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll put that one to the vote. That council approves the submission fast track approvals bill made to Parliament Environment Committee on the 19th of April 2024. All those in favour? Any against? So the motion is carried. Thank you. That concludes the Mayor's report. We'll go to the CEO report, and I'll hand over to Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've covered off an environmental scan of those major pieces of work that are going on that concern Buller. But I've also added in some extra pieces about what's going on within the organisation in terms of activity, particularly in the regulatory space and also in the community services space, just for information. And I'd like to add to that as we go through those future CEO reports, because it does give you a view into activity across the organisation, which I think will be of interest to you. So happy to hear any questions you might have.
Questions, councillors?
Not so much questions, we have a comment on 3.8, the reference service centre building. There seems to be a bit of miscommunication between the community board and the council over this. My understanding was that the Ngakawau-Hector meeting we resolved to hold off making any comment or any recommendation on the proposal until we had a report from council on future options of the building. And we understood that that was coming to this meeting so that we could have it in time for the recommendation back from council from time for the May meeting. So I think that's still our position, that we'd like to see both reports before we have to make a recommendation either way.
Before who's we have to make?
Okay.
Right. So my understanding is that the team were seeking the ICB's view to include in that report to council. Yeah. So it's kind of chicken and egg, isn't it?
Well, from what I can gather, there's been a lot of noise, if you like, on social media. But my understanding is that the previous council made a resolution when they approved the budget for the change to the visitor centre that the building was to be sold. So that there's a resolution on the council books that the building was sold. So to me, that needs to be dealt with by the council before the ICB can put their order in, if you like.
I have to check. Is there a resolution? I don't recall that. But
sorry, just for the speakers. I can certainly see if there was a resolution on hand that resolved that. I know that was definitely part of the discussions, that was part of the amalgamating, but I'm not sure if there is a resolution for that. We did have something in the last LTP about the property rationalisation, which the service centre would form part of. It would come under that as tranche 4. That's what the report's for. And I agree with you, perhaps a miscommunication with the ICB report. The proposal from the group in Reefton wasn't ready for the last ICB meeting. So I wanted to make sure that the ICB board had ample time to review that proposal and then be able to provide feedback, which would be included in the report to council at the end of next month. Understand where you're coming from and happy to work with you on the potential options in the paper going to council. as it stands, we'd be looking at sale of the building as is where it is, in line with what you've mentioned there, councillor, or looking at lease options to the community group at no cost to council. And that's what their proposal has been, that there would be no cost. I know from the portfolio leads discussions that we've had that some councillors are not in favour of a peppercorn rental. So that again will be brought to council for there to be a decision made on that.
Well, I guess all I'm saying is that the community board would appreciate all of that information before they had to make a recommendation.
So I'll go through, well, I'm the chair, through you, Mr. Chair. So is the council report basically written, and is there any reason why basically the same report that's going to come to council can't first go to ICB? Noting that the recommendations will be different, but in terms of the information,
the next ICB will be in July, so the report isn't ready yet to go to ICB. We're waiting on a register valuation to come back so we can provide that information. So I can provide the crux of what the report's going to say to ICB for the meeting on the 7th of May.
Does that sound like it's working for you as acting chair of ICB?
Yeah, well, I guess I've got to consult with the others because we understood you both and see both reports. We're happy to wait till July.
I believe the group wanted a bit of certainty so they can start going ahead and looking for some funding so they can progress the proposal. I think that's what the hurry up was.
Well, let's put it on the agenda for ICB with all the information that we've got to hand, and noting we'll just have to note whatever gaps are missing, because there may be additional gaps ICB say that they would like further information on or something. But I think my view is, and it's only my view, is that this is something the ICB should have, full involvement in and direct, or at least make a recommendation to council of what you would see, and we'll be guided by that. Balance that against the other economic factors and the like that may be at play. Okay. Any other questions on the CEO report? Councillor Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on the library, about 3 questions if I may. We're talking about the carpet on here at the moment, scheduled in 4 stages. I'm not sure if that's to do with the carpet only. I am aware that there's painting, carpet, earthquake strengthening, and I'm not sure if that's included as part of the 4 stages. But it seems to me that the major work, structural, which is earthquake strengthening, generally when one does structural work, they do that first before they start doing the tidy up on the inside, i.e. Carpet laying, and on the outside being painting, because there's a chance of damage and what have you. So I'm just wondering whether or not the cart before the horse in this instance, and whether any consideration has been given to the fact that we're a bit out of order in terms of the work we're doing. That's all. And the other question I had was Crown relocations. My understanding is they've got an office in Nelson, Christchurch. I'm not sure about Greymouth. They're certainly travelling a long way to do the work for removing the books and what have you. And I know there are some removal companies, just one-manners and that within Westport. I'm just wondering why local organisations haven't been approached, or if they were approached, aware that. But at the moment, Crown relocations. So just those 2, basically the Crown, the organiser there, removing company, and the order of work being undertaken for the library.
Okay. I will look to Ms. Trigg for an update on what the 4 stages of a library makeover look like. And who's moving the books?
Thank you for your councillors. Thank you for your question. Referring to your first one, at the moment we haven't got any proposed works for those earthquake works. That's still being proposed and worked through to make sure that we're doing the right thing. The carpet that's in there currently is frayed in places and causing a health and safety issue. So that's why we want to move ahead with that for health and safety of the patrons and also our staff. The type of carpet going in are tiles, so if at a later date there was any further works done in the library, they'd be easy to remove them just in small parts rather than larger sections. And on to your next question, councillor, with the Crown using that, we've recently, with the amalgamation of the Reefton Visitors and Service Centre, moving the library, pulling out the books, keeping them categorised, and making sure they're handled with care was a lot bigger job than we realised then. We don't want to do that now, and it's not something that our staff are able to do due to health and safety, injuries. So we did look at local groups that might be able to help us, that we could support. And in the end, Crown have been selected because of their efficiencies, and they'd be able to do it a lot quicker and with less disruption to the service to the community.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so the recommendation is that council receive the Chief Executive Officer's report. Moved Deputy Mayor Basher, seconded Councillor Weston. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried. Noting Councillor Naylon was out of the room, but it was just a for information one. Okay, agenda item 13 is the portfolio leads verbal updates. Ngakawau Community Board, obviously with Councillor Webb away, Councillor Naylon is chairing that verbal update on what's happening there.
Yeah, that's, so the meeting's on the 7th of May, and we had a very successful meeting this month down in Ngakawau. So quite a few issues brought up down there that we'll pursue through the annual planning process, etc. But yeah, our intention is to move out into the Ngakawau and Maruia areas as well with a meeting out there at some stage. So, yeah, really pleased with the public involvement. We seem to be reconnecting with our community down there.
It's good. Okay, any questions for that? Nope. Moving on to regulatory, environment and planning, also with two. Okay, nothing there.
Can I just go back to that? We do have a district licensing committee hearing on the 6th of May. So if any councillors want to come along, you'll be in here starting at 10 AM. You will see what's involved. And another resource consent on the 16th of May for a subdivision. So those councillors are more than welcome to come. They're both open to the public.
Okay, community services portfolio holders. Only you, Councillor Howard, are left.
Councillor Crowlett attended a district heritage forum. So it was good to help us to get an idea of what the different museums and the ones involved with heritage were doing in the district and their planned work. We are going to review the grants, so we'll actually be emailing out to councillors for any feedback for suggested improvements.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, infrastructure, councillors Grafton and Weston.
Yeah, we've had a couple of meetings with the leadership team, and we're just deciding there's a lot of contentious issues, well, not contentious, but a lot of big issues coming up. The ratepayers over infrastructure and stuff, so we're just deciding at what stage we need to bring back a workshop to council. So it's looking like next month or the month after. So.
Cool, thank you.
And then we also had one, we went out to Mokanui the other day, just followed behind the West Coast Regional Council and just had a chat about the water afterwards and that, and what the locals might want and not want, and it's going to be a tricky one, I'd imagine, going forward, but...
Yep. Okay, thank you. Moving on, corporate policy, corporate planning, councillors Reedy and Sampson. Councillor Reedy, portfolio holder.
Nothing. Nothing to report, thank you.
Thanks. Smaller rural communities, it's only you available today, Councillor O'Keefe.
Yeah, I attended a training workshop at Waimangaroa, training around standing orders and code of conduct, and that led into discussion with new subcommittee rules around publicly advertising meetings and workshops. It was quite good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and of course, you know, you're always learning more as you go, and I think that Waimangaroa got a fair bit out of it, which is great for local communities in supporting them to learn. And also Mokanui is quite keen on the same workshop. So I really want to, thing that I would like to do is work with Rissy more on how we structure a training workshop for our subcommittees and anyone else that wants to learn. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Iwi relations, I haven't really caught up with Ned for a wee while. He's had a bit of, he's been an apology to a number of meetings recently, so I will have to reach out. I had reached out though to Naitahu as part of my correspondence you'd have seen regarding their offer to work with councils who were willing, councils of the willing, around Three Waters. I haven't had a response as yet from iwi, but that's certainly an opportunity they extended, and I'm sure we'll have a conversation with them at some level in the future on that. TTPP, there is a meeting on Monday, I think.
29th.
Yeah, which is via Zoom, as far as I'm aware. So I think it's only Zoom, but I'm not sure. Just check. Well, yeah, it says at regional, but I think it is via Zoom. But I'm sure you'll be fine to turn up. I'll probably Zoom to it though. I shared the latest project manager's report the other day. It had been sitting in my inbox and hadn't got around to sending that out. So you've all had that. Nothing further to report there, I don't think. Councillor Nayland, nothing springs to mind. Nope. The Joint Committee Westport Rating District. So I understand that the Regional Council are working to try and set a date for that committee to come together in the near future. So, or during May. So that's good news. Date won't have come out yet, but I've certainly in contact from their administrative staff to just check who was our council, reconfirming who we understood the membership of that joint rating district was. No questions on those ones. Oh, Councillor Eadie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A bit of a concern for me at the moment has been part of this committee. I believe the last time we met was maybe either March or May of last year. But what's concerning me now, of course, is what can only be referred to as a huge increase in rates, and the committee hasn't really met to discuss the impact of those rates increases on members of the committee. Members of the community, and that's what we're here to represent, is the community. So I'm a bit disappointed that regional have not have basically said what the proposal is, the draft proposal for rates increases are, but we haven't sat down prior to the release of the draft to actually discuss it amongst ourselves. Are we community minded, or are we just working on regional?
Yeah, so you're right. There hasn't had last meet in April 2023, and I understand it. It's totally up to West Coast Regional Council to administer and set meetings and things for that. So you are correct. The role of that is to provide community input into the setting of the targeted rate for the special rating district, which will be delivering funding the community share of the Westport Flood Protection Program of work. So yeah, I agree with you that a meeting sooner rather than later, and I've certainly been advocating for that with regional councils since November. to get that together. So look forward to that happening as well. There's also been a community member resigned from that committee as well. So presumably there needs to be a process around appointing another community rep in the intervening period. Councillor Nail on health localities, is there anything?
I'm still up in the air about whether we're going to get continued under the present government. And as I mentioned before, they've stopped rolling out on any new prototypes. But it seems like the current minister is still debating whether we'll carry on or not. So nothing.
And Regional Transport Committee?
Nothing yet. Next meeting, hadn't had a meeting. Next one's not till the end of June, maybe.
Okay. You'll have one, I would have thought you'll have one when are you doing submissions, hearing submissions on the
Not sure, they've just closed, I haven't seen them yet, but Mel's sorting them out.
Okay. So I think that'll be before end of June, because it'll be for 1 July onwards.
Yeah, well, it has to, because I think the funding has to be used by the end of June, so somehow it's going to have to be rushed.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, so the recommendation there, we received the verbal updates from chairs and council representatives of those portfolio holders and other groups we represent. I'll move that way. Second it. Councillor Grafton, all those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Looks like Tony might have dipped out. Okay, so we're just gonna...
I'm here. Can you hear me? Yep. I don't know what I've done.
You can see your ceiling. Oh, I think that's what it is. Okay, we're just going to move into public excluded, and then we will have a quick break. So agenda item 14 is to move council into public excluded to consider 3 items there. I'll move that way. Second, Deputy Mayor Basher. Is there any discussion required on these? All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. We're now in public excluded, and we will just adjourn for a 10-minute break and pause the mute.